With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You discover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct, right here at the SHR Media Studios, 2 miles from the locus of evil on the entire West Coast, the capital of California, Sacramento, the Bill Mill, where evil issues forth every day, on a daily basis. And at night, the odors wafting, the smell of sulfur, brimstone, evil, wraps itself all around downtown Sacramento because it is, in fact, the locus of evil. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Dink is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and in fact, the lava lamp is lighted. Let's get it up. There we go. And that means that also, besides listening and chatting, you can get into the chat room at shrmedia.com. You can also watch the show. Go to the SHR Media Facebook page, Facebook Live, or go to the SHR Media YouTube channel. And you can watch all of them. Just pick one. If you want to clean your fish tank, just listen. If you want to watch and see the furry fuzzball do whatever it is that he does behind a microphone, hey, watch too. But if you want to chat, we ask that you chat right here at shrmedia.com. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, H-A-N-N-E-L, jiggle the handle, and tip your waitress. Now, tonight, we have a curious combination. We have, for the first half hour, I believe, Sharika Soal. And I learned of her situation with Carrie Baxter Donovan. And a lot of people in chat already. Good. Thanks for being here, Mike. Thanks for being here, Whiskey Dale and Mary Brockman. Good to see everybody. Sharika Soal, I learned of her plight through Carrie Baxter Donovan. And this is essentially what's going to be another example, although I want to make sure that she tells her story in her own words, is this is what the left is doing to the left. The left has decided that it's A-OK, just peachy nifty to eat its own. If you are not in complete lockstep with all of the rest of, say, in this example, the Hollywood resistance. So it's going to be the truth about Sharika Soal tonight. You can get on your favorite search engine and look for the name S-H-A-R-I-K-A, Soal, S-O-A-L. And tonight, she's going to tell her story like no one else can. And it is, in fact, it's a a cautionary tale of the left eating its left when you are not precisely in goose step with every aspect of their thinking. And then also tonight, besides all the, I'm sure you're tired of winning, etc., but there are some very important things that I want you guys to listen to. I have some excellent audio clips coming up. They're going to be from Mitch McConnell. They're going to be from Harry Reid. They're going to be from, let's see. Oh, that's right. Today, let's go back up. Let's back up a little bit. What happened today? Oh, that's right. Rod Rosenstein, of his own volition, voluntarily walked across the street from the DOJ and decided that he was going to sit down in front of a House committee, and Trey Gowdy and all sorts of other persons were going to heap huzzahs and blessings upon him because, quite frankly, Rod Rosenstein is doing such a wonderful job over there at the DOJ. Let's crank this up just a little bit. There we go. And so if you haven't heard that audio cut, it's the one that I snatched is about 7 minutes long. And trust me when I tell you, it's going to be worth every minute of it. And then I'm going to refresh everyone's memory about the nuclear option. I'm going to refresh everyone's memory about a filibuster. And then I'm going to let leftists speak for themselves and let them tell you what they really think about you. I have an excellent article. Actually, I have two excellent articles by Kurt Schlichter tonight. And I have another article by an individual who's writing, I believe, at National Review and said, well, wait a minute. In terms of what's happening at our border, why is it that we need more illegal people in this country anyway? Because he asked a very valid question. What, in effect, is that truly going to accomplish? I asked Sharika to call in about 5 after. It's about 5 after, so I'm anticipating a call at any moment. So I'm going to go into some articles, and I'm going to go into some content, and when she calls, we'll just stop. Let's leave it at that. The first article that I have for you tonight is by Kurt Schlichter, and it was written on May 28th. Mike in chat. Mike in chat says, maybe BZ needs to reupholster your official chair. She says, oh, it's okay, but that's fine. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Well, okay. Listen, Mary, if the chair is unfit for you, if you would like me to reupholster it, all you have to do is ask. BZ at shrmedia.com. Easy. Piece of cake. Anyway, this one article, I have been meaning to read this for quite some time, and it comes from May the 28th, and it goes like this. The real...
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Real conservatives refuse to kneel before their liberal overlords. There's a great scene in the movie Witness where a bunch of bullies start picking on some Amish farmers, and they pick on Harrison Ford, who's sporting extreme Mennonite drag. They knock off his straw cap, they laugh at him, and then he beats the crap out of them. The bullies are shocked, stunned, and bewildered. Why? He's not supposed to fight back. Why, the Amish, they're better than that. But Harrison's not. As his buddy says, he's from Ohio. I'm not better than that either, Kurt Schlichter writes. How about you? Because today being better than that means being willing to allow other people to control you by defining you, and the definition is always a pushover. You're supposed to be conservative. Our conservative superiors tell us, and we must therefore rigidly adhere to their precious conservative principles. But these bear no resemblance to real principles, much less conservative ones. Allow me to sum up these fake principles. Number 1, don't ever fight. Number 2, don't presume to exercise your own right of free expression. 3, lose like a gentleman. Yeah, no, Schlichter writes, a hard pass, Fredo Cons. Last week, and the NFL, broken by our informal boycott, took action against those kneeling jerks, and the elite, including its true conservative collaborators, wet their collective panties all over the internet about it. How horrible. We flexed our muscles, stopped watching those pampered jerks' antics, and the NFL caved. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to behold these goofs' glorious free speech. We're supposed to, which consists of waving middle fingers in our mugs, and we're supposed to just nod politely. We aren't the ones who should be exercising our freedom of expression. We are the ones who are supposed to cave. We are always the ones who are supposed to cave. Well, Kurt Schlichter writes, I guess we missed that memo. And how Task Force Pearl Clutcher lectured us for not adequately defending the First Amendment that a bunch of us were physically defending when the vast majority of them were back home getting their masters in 17th century philosophy and sipping Zimas. Oh my God, Kurt Schlichter, a reference to Zimas. If you've never had one, don't. He continues, worse, they shamefully took to the enemy microphone, that is the New York Times op-ed page, to scold us and spew out exactly what the liberals wanted to hear, that we conservatives should never, ever take our own side, in a fight. Apparently the going rate for professional conservatives is 30 pieces of silver and a byline in American Pravda. Liberals never seem to have this blue falcon problem because they understand power. But then those of us less concerned with getting an invitation to talk to donors at the National Weekly Liberty Forum for Eagle Family Liberty Standard Coalition and Cruise, then not having progressive Birkenstocks ground into our faces forever, understand power too, and scandalously, now we're using it. The liberals were likewise beside themselves at the result of our pushback, prompting them to go into one of their trademark sessions of coordinated but inept gaslighting. Why, how dare we normals take offense at this peaceful protest of love? Baloney. Kurt Schlichter writes, This kneeling thing was mindless performance art designed by these leftist jerks and enabled by the liberal elite and its slobbering media lapdogs to insult us to our faces by committing an act of calculated disrespect to our country and to the normal Americans who built it, feed it, and protect it. It was a scam and a lie from the word hike. The dim-witted protest was always directed at us and no one else. If it wasn't us, who was it? The America-loathing elite that was cheering them on? Those? These preening prima donnas did not have to choose the football game venue, one we attend to escape from things like politics and condescending lectures. They did not have to choose the national anthem, a symbol of the country we love and serve. If these overpaid, pampered, posing fools wanted to protest whatever it is that they're protesting, they could have done it differently. But then doing it differently wouldn't have freaked out the squares. That was the point. And now they're mad because we took their insult exactly as they intended it to be taken. And they aren't even man enough to admit it. Their new story is that this has nothing at all to do with us normals, that it's not an insult. No, it's a heartfelt plea for something. I guess the pig cop socks and the Castro T-shirts were gestures of respect, truly. So let's get real. They wanted to rub our faces in their contempt, to laugh at us as we had to endure it, humiliated by our own powerlessness. We were supposed to just sit there and take it. We are never supposed to use our own power to fight back. And that's where the record scratch comes in. Oops. Look who's laughing now. Turns out we can throw a punch as well, and did, slugging the feckless NFL right in the wallet. You want to politicize everything? This is politicizing everything. Enjoy it. We're playing by the new rules, too. I warned them that they would hate the new rules. But gosh, we can't do that. Oh, well, I never. How dare you normal Americans get militant and actually fight back? Whine the kneelers of team principles. Real conservatives don't fight back. See, that's just not who we are. No, that's not who they are. We understand something that conservative Inc. goofs never seem to figure out. They howl that all we are all about these days is owning the libs and winning. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to win. Sometimes you have to stop yapping and start performing. Once in a while, you have to put points on the board. Otherwise, people stop listening to you. It's possible to spend your whole career inside Conservative Inc., drifting from cheesy think tank, sinecure to lame magazines, scribbling gigs, never actually winning anything. But out here in America, we need to prevail. Our rights and our dignity are merely theoretical constructs to the Frito-cons and are of no significance to them. But our rights and dignity matter to us, and we're acting and voting accordingly. These cruise-shilling nags have delivered nothing but tiresome scoldings and a never-ending series of capitulations. No wonder they can't seem to sell out those 2 twin-bed deluxe cabins along the Lido deck anymore. No wonder normal Americans turn to someone like Donald Trump when these pathetic losers were only offering us more defeat and more humiliation at the hands of our enemies in the culture war. We reject the bizarre notion that we are somehow obligated to stoically take guff from people who despise us without responding, because doing so is unconservative. We decline to be commanded by conscientious objectors. Here's how we roll. When the enemy deploys its power against us, whether it's some football jerk dissing us via Old Glory or some tech titan deciding to not allow us access to social media, we will fight back using whatever power we have. We will bankrupt the NFL before we sit there watching them flip us off. And we'll leverage our political power to regulate the Twitter facegrams into submission. And if they keep trying to elude us from participation in our own culture, there is no conservative principle that requires you to not use your most effective weapon in your own self-defense. None. But that's not conservative, the sissies whimper. That's true only if you adopt a definition of conservatism that presumptively surrenders whenever it meets resistance. The simple, undeniable fact is that punishment works. Retaliation works. If you want the old rules back in effect, I'd prefer that, says Kurt Schlichter. Then you need to teach the enemy that it can't apply new rules without feeling the same pain that it inflicts. That's a real conservative principle. Unilateral disarmament doesn't work. Remember, nothing in conservatism ever obligates you to accept an end result where you must silently endure disrespect, where you're excluded from participation in your own governance, or where your rights are voided. None. Though a bunch of allegedly conservative racketeers disenfranchised by the revolution that led to the election of Donald Trump are still trying to sell you on that idea. Laugh at them and their fussy complaints about how you fail to conform your life to their labels. Fight back. Remember, militant normal Americans aren't from Washington. They're from Ohio. That's the first article from Kurt Schlichter. Sharika, I don't know if you happen to be listening on the media, but I sent, just to remind you, I sent you the telephone number to the studio, the one that you should be calling, and I sent it on a Twitter message, which is how we've been communicating. So just a reminder, if you're going to call in tonight, because right now it's 17 minutes after the hour, and it's not starting to look good. Remember I told you about the article from the New Republic? Or excuse me, I think this is from the... Oh, no, I'm wrong. This is from Michael Anton. And this is why I was even more amazed. because it's from Michael Anton of the Washington Post. And he says, why do we need more people in this country anyway? As Capitol Hill Republicans attempt for, the 8th, 9th time in the past 2 decades to jam through an amnesty that their voters have explicitly, loudly, and repeatedly said they don't want, it's worth asking a question that is rarely raised. Does the United States population, 320 million and rising, need more people? If so, why? To most ears, the question sounds blasphemous, which illustrates the rottenness of our immigration debate. Hold that thought. I'm going to remind everyone of Paul Ehrlich. We'll get to him. Actually, debate is far too generous. One side has made sure that there is no debate. Good people want more immigration, and bad people object or raise questions. An inherently political issue that has been effectively rendered religious, with the righteous on one side and sinners, abject, terrible sinners, on the other. The basic question remains. The pat answer over the past 20 years, well, to do the jobs the Americans won't do, may seem to have some salience with a 3.9% unemployment rate, but that only further raises the question. After at least 2 decades of wage stagnation and even decline, now that we finally reached the nirvana of full employment, and who knows how long that will take, why not take advantage of this tight labor market to raise wages across the board, especially for the working and middle classes that got nowhere or even lost ground during the housing, finance, and tech booms of recent years? Just about everyone knows the answer. Because the business community does not like tight labor markets and the concomitant necessity to raise wages. That's bad for the bottom line. The solution? More workers. And so the Chamber of Commerce Annex, a.k.a. Capitol Hill Republicans, dutifully attempt to do their donors' bidding at the expense of their voters' interests. Spelled out so wonderfully. Thank you, Anton. Economists in league with big business got good at torturing data to show that immigration benefits the economy, but as demonstrated by Harvard University's George Borjas, one of the nation's leading economists on the topic, immigration is a net economic benefit to immigrants and to their employers. To workers already here, not so much. No matter, because the Democrats are no longer the party of labor. Back when they were, in the prelapsarian Clinton years, they sought tight labor markets precisely for their efficacy in boosting lower-end wages. But today's Democrats are the party of high class, high tech, and high capital. This glamour coalition is not big enough by itself to win elections, so the left has hoodwinked some, but as the 2016 election shows, by no means all low-income voters into thinking that their interests align with those of Wall Street and Silicon Valley oligarchs. It's cheap what the oligarchs, it's clear what the oligarchs get out of an endless influx of cheap labor. What the Democratic Party gets is also clear: more voters, and with them the tantalizing possibility of turning the country as irreversibly blue as Democratic policies have already done to New York, California, and many other states. Democrats used to be coy about this. The 2002 blockbuster, The Emerging Democratic Majority by John B. Judas, presented demographic changes as an inevitability. Not a deliberate plot to rig elections, but now for the first time facing real pushback from those whose interests more immigration does not serve, the left is more open in exhorting their side and demonizing the other. Hence this year's How Democracies Die by Stephen Levitsky states openly that immigration favors Democrats, so the more the better. It also construes any opposition as, of course, racist. Another argument for more people is to point to falling birth rates among the native-born. In fact, the United States remains near the top of birth rates in the developed world. Regardless, consider that immigration not only lowers wages, but also raises housing prices by increasing demand and stressing public schools by adding non-English speaking students. And as such factors worsen, research suggests that people are putting off marriage, which reduces birth rates. Related is the claim that more people are necessary to solve our looming entitlement crisis. Now, this quickly falls apart once you think it through. In 1967, future Nobel laureate Paul Samuelson favorably compared Social Security to a Ponzi scheme, arguing that it will be sustainable because younger people will always outnumber retirees. But does anybody really believe the United States, or any other country is capable of sustaining population growth without end. Somehow, the United States needs to find a way to meet its fiscal commitments without stuffing the land beyond the bursting point. So again, why do we need more people? For the extra traffic congestion, more crowded classrooms, longer emergency room and Transportation Security Administration lines, higher greenhouse tax emissions. We know how more immigration benefits big business and the Democratic Party. No one has yet convincingly explained how it benefits the American people as a whole. That's the foremost consideration that should drive our immigration debate, and that's what should determine our immigration policy. And I happened to find out an excellent article, and it was an opinion piece. Yeah, it was an opinion piece. But the thing that was even more shocking to me is that it came out of the Washington Post, and it should similarly shock you. As I'm waiting, I'm going to get right into the meat of the matter. I have a couple of really good articles, but if you'll allow me to do this just for a moment, because to run a radio show and also check social media is sometimes a real difficult thing, so I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything or missed any calls. And apparently I have not missed any calls, so you know what? I think this is going to have to occur on another night. And that's fine. And do you know why? I got to tell you why. Okay. Because you have to, in radio, be prepared for situations like this. Because it's happened to me before. And you always have to make sure that you have enough material for something like this. Now, I told you that I would be playing some audio cuts with regard to what is going to occur July 31st with Anthony Kennedy. And I learned last night on Sackheads Against Tyranny. I did not know this, though I live actually I live up in the mountains, but I stay down here frequently in Sacramento, and then I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to do the show, but I live, like 91 miles that way up in the Sierra Nevada mountains, where it's very beautiful. The only thing that scares the crap out of me is wildfire up there, because California doesn't know how to manage its wildlife services at all, nor does it know how to manage its water resources at all. But that's a story for another time. Anyway, Anthony Kennedy is going to be retiring very soon, and he announced it yesterday. And of course, there was lots of pearl clutching and pants shitting hysteria all across the board. I don't know, perhaps as well it should be. But I learned that Anthony Kennedy is from Sacramento. I didn't know that. And people are theorizing whether or not he's going to be coming back to Sacramento. Well, he lives on the East Coast. He has some friends here, and he does come back to Sacramento now and then. But after retirement, following July 31st, he will be staying probably on the East Coast. But I have to play this for you, because it's going to be a major concern with the Democrats, as it was last year, and it's going to be a similar concern this year. And that's, do you remember when the Senate Democrats decided that they were going to pass the nuclear option?
It's time to change the Senate before this institution becomes obsolete.
And Republicans argue will make Washington gridlock worse.
It puts a chill on the entire United States Senate.
Senate Democrats voted to lower the threshold to break a filibuster from 60 votes to 51 votes, a simple majority. It strips the minority party's ability to block a president's nominees. It's called the nuclear option for good reason. Just a few years ago, even Democratic leader Harry Reid said he wouldn't do it, saying it would be
a black chapter in the history of the Senate.
So what about now?
Why isn't this a black chapter in the history of the Senate?
Things have changed dramatically since 2005.
Things have changed dramatically, said Harry Reid.
Dramatically.
For
the last 4.5 years, they have done everything they can to deny the fact that Obama was elected and then reelected.
Translation: GOP obstruction is unprecedented. To back that up, Democrats point to statistics from the nonpartisan Congressional Research Service. In the history of the country, there have been 168 filibusters of presidential nominees. About half, 82, happened during the Obama administration.
In summary, this is a power grab.
Angry Republicans don't necessarily dispute Democrats' statistics about nominees they have blocked. Instead, they point to how many judges they have confirmed, 215, and rejected 5. And when it comes to the fight that Democrats called the last straw over vacancies in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, the Republican leader argues Democrats are manufacturing a crisis to distract from the Obamacare debacle.
A fake fight over judges that aren't even needed.
Now, Democrats say they get that this benefits them now that they're in the majority, but certainly the tables will.
By the way, this is a CNN cut, which is why I wanted to play it to you.
Be turned the day that they lose that majority status. But they essentially shrug their shoulders and say that this is a risk that they are willing to take because, in the words of one senior Democrat, the other option is continued obstruction.
And there you have it, continued obstruction. Well, it didn't just stop there. I have a great cut. This is, when is this? This is Mitch McConnell. I think this is him in the Senate directly addressing the Senate, and he says, you know what? I think you're going to regret doing this. So let's listen to Mitch.
Once again, Senate Democrats are threatening to break the rules of the Senate, in order to change the rules of the Senate. And over what? Over what? Over a court that doesn't even have enough work to do? The majority leader promised.
By the way, this was over district court appointments. This wasn't over SCOTUS. They went nuclear over district court appointments.
He promised, over and over again, that he wouldn't break the rules of the Senate in order to change them. If you want to play games, set yet another precedent that you'll no doubt come to regret. Say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
And does anybody here think that perhaps they're already starting to regret it sooner than they think? We'll be right back. Don't you go nowhere. Have I got some great stories for you? Well, you can go get some ice cream. Don't start cleaning your parakeet cage, though. That's going to take too long.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, what a unique show this is turning out to be. And I've got a ton of audio cuts. We're going to see if Dan calls in. We're also going to see if Sean swears that the Skype number works, which is weird because he's on vacation, and I've been sending him texts now and then. And I sent him a text saying, I tried to call into Skype, and before the show, admittedly, what I do is I call into Skype to see if the number is working. And then Sean told me, by the way, I set Skype to answer with a busy signal before the show starts, to which I replied something similar to, wait a minute, how do I test if Skype is working if it's not going to even answer the phone for me? And, well, I haven't really gotten an answer to that yet, which I find that's kind of amusing. But you know what? That's not even here nor there, because I have a backup number that I can send to Dan if it turns out that Skype doesn't work. And you know what? I'm not even going to bank on that, because these days I can't afford to bank on any of that stuff, because I've already been shot in the head numerous times this week. So what's another one? It really doesn't make any difference. But let's go forward with some audio cuts, because at least that stuff works, okay? And I want you to hear how it is and what it is that leftists, what they really, really, really think of you.
The folks calling for civility might need to check their privilege.
And 25% of the country, whether it's 25, 20, 30%.
The folks calling for civility might want to check their privilege. Spoken by a black woman. Really? So civility now gets attached to privilege. AYFKM. Are you fucking kidding me?
Are hardcore racist. They do not want to see brown people coming into America. That's just what's going on here.
If you vote for Trump, then you, the voter, you, not Donald Trump, are standing at the border like Nazis going, you here, you here. And I think we now have to flip it. And it's a given, the evilness of Donald Trump.
Are they just the most stoic human beings? Are they numb? Are they dead inside?
We can't just do rallies. We have to fight back. There will be casualties on both sides.
Anybody who votes for and supports a racist is a racist. You are culpable
white America, I'm sorry. If you hold down the woman while the rapist is raping her, and you didn't rape her, are you a rapist?
Tens of millions of people voted for him after he...
What? Did you hear the convoluted logic of that? Of course you did.
Showed his cards for years.
But are you suggesting that they're racist or they're...
Yes.
The people who vote, all the people who voted for Donald Trump are racist.
Yes.
Those people...
All the people who voted for Donald Trump are racist just because.
Who are supporting what he's doing here are racist, period.
They should not be non-confrontational.
And so these policies that this administration is putting forth
We should not be non-confrontational.
are intentionally cruel. They are racist, and it is our job as citizens to speak out against that. Now, does that mean that we're going to be violent? No. But does that mean that Sarah Sanders can have a nice, quiet dinner with her family when she's taking our tax dollars to implement this policy? I don't think so.
They're not going to be able to go to a restaurant. They're not going to be able to stop at a gas station. They're not going to be able to shop at a department store. The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them.
But you guys were involved with Being Patriotic, right?
Very, very patriotic, but not...
Being Patriotic was the group that contacted and helped organize some of these activities that you posted on your own Facebook account.
Those were legitimate.
Those were Russians.
Thank you for calling the Red Hen Restaurant. If you are a Trump supporter, if you voted for Trump, or if you even smell like a Trump supporter, we will throw you out on your butt like we did Sarah Sanders.
First of all...
So that's what liberal media, that's what they really think about you. So, I'll tell you what. I have got so much material here.
The travel ban ruling underscores just how critical it is to confirm judges who will support our Constitution, our great, great Constitution.
And this is why the leftists are going insane. The guy with the dead orange cat on his head.
Justice Anthony Kennedy, a very special guy, also just announced a little while ago his retirement from the United States Supreme Court. Great man. And I'm very honored that he chose to do it during my term in office because he felt confident in me to make the right choice and carry on his great legacy. That's why he did it.
And after that, could you not hear leftist heads exploding? Literally exploding, the cranial vaults splitting all across the fruited plain.
And I'd like to take a moment to show our great appreciation for Justice Kennedy's lifetime of distinguished service. Terrific man. Service to our nation and to the cause of liberty. We were thrilled to appoint one of Kennedy's former clerks to the Supreme Court. Did you ever hear of Justice Neil Gorsuch?
And do you not think that Justice Neil Gorsuch is already starting to make, essentially, all the difference in the world?
He's doing great. He's a star, and Justice Kennedy is a star, and we appreciate it. We really have to take our hats off to Justice Kennedy. Thank you very much. And remember this, so we have a pick to come up. We have to.
By the way, I would just like to go into this. I said back in 2016, when it turned out that I think there were 16 or 17 GOP candidates for president, and we went through them one by one, and they all got cut off at the ankles. And I said, you know what? When it came down to Donald Trump, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, even though he was far from my numero uno guy, for two reasons. Two very, to me, important reasons. And I was proven correct. And Donald Trump just proved me correct this week. Number one was he was not Hillary Rodham Clinton. And, hey, look at this. Let's see if this works. Okay. I think this is Big Tex. Is this Big Tex on the air? Okay. You know, the funny thing is, Dan, can you call again? Try it again. Because I paired this thing up with the board before I got here, so I know it works. But the funny thing is, technology, you gotta love it, or you gotta love it. Or sometimes you gotta ask yourself, is this stuff just personal? Is it just personal with me? Because let's see, I've got my Bluetooth on, and it's paired up to the board. And I checked earlier when Sharika Soal was going to call in, and I know the Bluetooth is working through the board. So let's try. Now we're getting it. Now we're getting it. It's the second time. The second time is the winner. It's the champ. Woohoo! You know, if I just keep with it, if I just persevere, I know it's going to work. Now, Dan. I know.
Everybody has to understand, anytime I'm on BZ's show lately, it is an adventure with the phones.
Oh, God. And I keep asking, I keep saying, you know, things aren't working, and I know one way to fix them. It's going to cost me a couple of $1,000s to do it. I don't really care. But we haven't quite pulled the trigger on that yet. I know how to do it. We just haven't quite gotten there because there are a lot of workarounds up to this point.
Right.
And basically what I'm doing is I'm Bluetoothing my own phone through the board because I know that works. I just did it earlier just before the show. So I just suspected, just on account of because, that if you called in again, that it was going to work. Because you want to hear something weird, Dan? You want to hear something weird? The board, or excuse me, the program screwed up last night for Sackheads, and I actually fixed a camera and started the show all over again when Spreaker wouldn't work. I actually figured shit out. Me!
I was there. I was blowing your phone up saying, hey,
we
can see you, but we can't hear you.
What the hell is going on, dude?
Now, BZ, this is the honest to God truth. One of the best, I've been doing internet radio 10 years, and one of the best shows I ever did, man. I got up and I was geared up, and I was on cue, had the sound, I had all my sound clips, everything. I go for the entire hour, man, and I am just writing. Of course, I haven't paid attention to the chat room, anything like that, and I'm hitting my cues on my brakes and everything. I forgot to unmute the freaking mic.
I knew you were going somewhere like that.
One of the best shows I ever did. I ran it and raved to myself. So I just turned around and did it the next
What,
night.
one of the best unheard of shows in radio ever, period. End of statement.
Yes,
okay,
exactly,
so now
man.
I told everybody earlier that Sean had called me, or texted me, because I said, dude, I'm trying to get through on Skype, and it's giving me a busy signal. And he said, I set Skype not to answer the phone until after the show starts, after the time. That's 8 p.m. Pacific. And I thought, yes, he said that. So I thought, I sent back, dude, then how am I going to be able to tell if Skype works if it's beeping at me all the time? I can't even make a test. So now, Dan, tell me what happened just now when you tried to call Skype.
It was busy. He got the busy signal, and then don't even get us started. Thank God it's not on Magic Jack, or I'd be having to call back every 5 minutes. Now,
See, you can't write that stuff. You can't write that Magic Jack is going to hang up on your ass every 5 damn minutes. Until I went to the internet. It's like I told you, I went to the internet. And then I stuck in my favorite search engine. I said, Magic Jack, are there any problems with Magic Jack? And a whole bunch of people came back in comments and said, well, Magic Jack keeps hanging up on me every 5 to 7 minutes.
5 minutes.
I said, oh, okay, there's the problem. The cat's in the toilet. That's it right there, and it just won't fit down the pipes.
Yeah,
Good
I mean,
God.
you can set your watch to it. You can set your watch to it.
That's right, remember?
It was hilarious.
Remember we did that? It was like a thing in the chat room. Everybody, Whiskey Dale was in the chat room, for example, going, okay, it's going to go off right about now. And then, ba-doom, it did. You can't. You can't write that stuff.
BZ, let me give you a little announcement tonight, and then we'll just start bullshitting around as usual, man.
Oh, I got a ton of stuff to go over, though. I got a ton of stuff.
Let me tell you something. You know, this coming Sunday night, a lot of people are in for a big treat. We got a lot of folks that have been asking for this, and so we're gonna put it together. This Sunday night, I'm gonna be back on the air, and I'm gonna be joined by one of my longtime co-hosts. And the audience is going to love having her back on the air. It's been a long time since she's been on the air, but the one and the only and the very beautiful Liz Loris will be joining me this Sunday night. And so that ought to be a real treat. We got a really special show planned, and so I think everybody's going to enjoy it. So it's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be delving into the news and the politics. We got something else planned for this show, and since it's Liz's return to radio, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it a whole lot. So we'll be on the air at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, can you spill any of it? Can you give us a hint? If you're not going to talk politics, where are you going to go?
You know what? Let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get into. You know what? If you have turned to a lot of the stuff that I'm doing on a personal basis and stuff. You know, I'm kind of into, you know, spurring the dialogue and bringing divisive people together and different things like that, and working with a lot of that stuff. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of uplifting stuff dealing with life. A lot of people know I'm fixing to turn 50 years old. I'm in the prime of my life, and I'm in the middle of the road in my life. And
you're a kid.
Let me tell you, I wish. Let me tell you what, BZ, I turned 50 in August, but I'm already taking full advantage of every damn senior discount and coupon that I can.
Hell
if I
yeah.
get away with it, I am using it. And so, but anyway, Liz has come to me, and she's got a lot of different ideas of what we're going to talk about. A lot of people have heard Liz and I do shows like this before. And so, and there's a lot of caller interaction. We'll have the caller lines open as well. So it'll be an open caller night for people to participate in. And so when we've done these in the past, they've been very well listened to. A lot of caller interaction as well. And my phone lines do work all the time. And so we...
Well, you just had to throw that in. You just had to throw that in there, didn't you? God, you evil bastard.
So anyway, let me tell you, we are. It's going to be a very, very special night. I'm really looking forward to it because it's been a couple of years since she's been on the radio. So looking forward to having her back, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I have to say this. You were dissed in chat. I'm really sorry, but Traveling Cynic called you a young punk. However, he said he's going to be 63, and I'll tell everyone I'll be a little bit older than that, shall we say. Anyway, good to see you there. And there's been a ton of stuff that's occurred. First, let me back up. For people that don't know who you are, and that really wouldn't be much of anybody that listens to the show, but hey, give your website so everybody can find out where the real news can be found.
Oh, buddy, of course, we are High Plains Pundit. You go to highplainspundit.com. High Plains Pundit, if you're not familiar with it, we are a regional and state website based in the state of Texas. We are, as far as mid-sized markets are concerned, we are the largest regional media outlet in the state of Texas for mid-sized markets. We're one of the largest media outlets in the state of Texas, period. So we're very proud of that fact. We've worked long and hard to do what we do. Of course, we also have High Plains Pundit TV, which has been completely redesigned. If you go to it, you just go to the main website, you can get to it. You can see what we're doing there with High Plains Pundit TV. And then, of course, High Plains Talk Radio. High Plains Talk Radio is very unique, especially in the area that we are. I think everybody knows by now that I do lean to the right on most issues. A lot of issues, I go down the middle. I do take a left turn here and there on a few things. So it's kind of my libertarian bent that comes out in me a little bit. But on High Plains Talk Radio, we have over 30 shows on there. But not only do we have shows from the right, we also have shows on the left. I want everybody to hear what both sides are talking about, what both sides are saying. So we have talk show hosts that lean to the left. We have talk show hosts that lean to the right. We have sports. We have straight news. And then, of course, we have the unexplained and the unknown type shows that we have on there.
Really?
So yes, we do.
Now, see,
we have a couple of great late night shows for all the conspiracy theorists out there that like the unexplained and the unknown.
See, if I go home tonight, if I go home tonight and tell my wife that, because she's big into UFOs, all sorts of things, unexplained, Sasquatch. If I go and tell her that tonight, that you've got stuff on late night, that's when she listens. Just before she goes beddy by, she listens to all sorts of shows like that. Right. So I am going to tell her about that.
Yeah, and here's the beautiful thing. Everything's on demand at High Plains Talk Radio. You listen at your convenience. You can catch the shows on when they're live. You can catch them on in the replay. You can catch the archives. Everything is laid out like that for you. So that's kind of the format we launched when we launched it 10 years ago, and we've stuck with it. And it's turned out to be very popular. People like to listen when they want to listen, and so.
Wait a minute.
While we do that.
Are you saying that BZ can be played upon demand?
BZ, let me tell you, BZ can. If you go to highplainspundit.com and go up at the top tab there and hit on High Plains Talk Radio, BZ has his own show page.
Wow.
Actually, I take that back. You do share a show page. You do share a show page with Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Okay.
But since you're co-host of that show, I put those two together.
Okay.
If you're somebody like Susan Knowles, who's on High Plains Talk Radio, hosts 3 radio shows. So you get the gist while we put them all on the same show page with everybody.
Well,
but if you go and check out the show page there, you can kind of see what it's like and the past shows and everything. Everything is there. And if they want to listen to you live there, you're live there right now too. So.
Woohoo! Nicely done. I'm going to go right into a big audio cut. This thing's about 7 minutes long. Let me check and see if I've got the right one. Yeah, it's about 7 minutes and 3 seconds long. And you're a news guy. I would imagine that you've probably already heard this. I expect that most of the people haven't. This is Jim Jordan talking to our lovely sainted Rod Rosenstein about info and the DOJ. And if also, folks, you haven't heard, Trey Gowdy, by the way, absolutely lighted up good old Rod Rosenstein. But this is Jim Jordan, and trying desperately. Now, let me do the setup here. This is in front of a committee, representative committee, and Rod Rosenstein is on the right of the video, and director Chris Wray is on the left. So they have Wray and Rosenstein sitting before them there to allegedly answer questions and to allegedly attempt to explain why it is that these two fucktards are being nothing but obstructionists. So let's start with this cut I'm going to stop to make various salient comments. And Dan, if you want me to stop to make a comment, just say, hey, wait a minute, and I'll stop, and you just let me know what you're thinking at the time. So let's start with Jim Jordan and Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray. It's going to be a barrel of monkeys.
I recognize the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rosenstein, why are you keeping information from Congress?
Congressman, I'm not keeping any.
Now, if that wasn't the best first question in the world ever.
I wish every congressional hearing would start out like that. That direct.
If that wasn't the perfect first question to start with, my God, I don't know what was.
Any information from Congress that it's appropriate.
In a few minutes, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the House of Representatives is going to say something different.
I don't agree with you, Congressman.
Okay, let me set this up because I'm going to set this up, and then you people will begin to understand. Jim Jordan and Trey Gowdy have had it up to here with all the bullshit from DOJ and Rosenstein and actually Sessions, who is his boss, refusing to proffer documents that the House subcommittees have rightfully subpoenaed almost over a year ago, and the House keeps giving them extension after extension after extension. Now, what Jim Jordan is you're going to hear him referred to here is Jim Jordan just got a decree passed by the entire House saying that you will, next Friday, in 7 days, you will provide documents, or we're going to find you, we're going to hold you in contempt of Congress, and or we're going to impeach you. Now, Rosenstein at this point doesn't know exactly that that's what has happened, that the people have signed off on it, but now you understand why it is that Jim Jordan is going to be saying the things that basically you just heard. Let me backtrack a little bit so that now that I've explained that, you have that now so that you understand it. Let's go back.
Any information from Congress that it's appropriate.
In a few minutes, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the House of Representatives is going to say something different.
I don't agree with you, Congressman. I don't believe that's what they're going to say, and if they do, they'll be mistaken.
I disagree, but I think
they already had signed it.
I think in a few minutes, the House of Representatives is going to go on record saying you haven't complied with requests from a separate and equal branch of government, that you haven't complied with subpoenas, and you got 7 days to get your act together. I think that's what's going to happen in a few. And that's not Jim Jordan. I think that's a majority of the House of Representatives. In just a few minutes, I think that's going to happen. And I want to know why you won't give us what we've asked for.
Sir, I certainly hope that your colleagues are not under that impression. That is not accurate, sir. And
it is accurate. We have caught you hiding
Mr. Chairman, can we allow the witness to answer? Mr. Chairman, point of order. We can go to Mr. Jordan's press conference and listen to him, but we came here to hear from the witness.
The time belongs to the gentleman.
Mr. Rosenstein.
Can we allow him to answer?
We have caught you hiding information.
Allow him to answer.
He will be permitted to answer when Mr. Jordan.
Why do we have them here?
We'll allow him additional time to answer.
Why are they not allowed to answer?
The gentleman's out of order. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Rose, let me make this one point, then I'll let you answer.
Mr. Jordan, I'd like to
let make this one point,
sir.
where we've caught you hiding information, then you can answer. By
the way, the person interrupting was a Democrat from California.
Why did you hide the fact that Peter Strzok and Judge Contreras were friends? Why did you redact that in the documents you gave to us? Judge Contreras is kind of important. FISA court judge, more importantly.
And people always wondered last year, hey, why was it that Judge Contreras recused himself suddenly and there was no explanation whatsoever?
Just as importantly, the judge that heard Mike Flynn's case. Why did you try to hide that from us?
Mr. Jordan, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to respond. I've heard you make those sort of allegations publicly on TV.
I got
and if you let me respond, sir.
Mr. Chairman, he should be given the opportunity.
Now, Mr. Jordan,
it's redacted.
I am the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Okay? I'm not the person doing the...
Now Rod Rosenstein is pissed, and now he's going to try to pontificate.
Redacting. I'm responsible...
Which is the wrong thing to do to 435 people.
For responding to your concerns as I have. I have a team with me, sir. It's just a fraction of the team that's doing this work, and whenever you brought issues to my attention, I have taken appropriate steps to remedy them. So your statement...
That's a lie.
...that I'm personally keeping information from you, trying to conceal information...
You're the boss, Mr. Rosenstein.
That's correct. And my job is to make sure that we respond to your concerns. We have, sir. Now, I've appointed Mr. Lausch, who is managing that production. And my understanding is it's actually going very well, sir. So I appreciate your concerns.
Again, I think the House of Representatives is going to say otherwise.
But your use of this to attack me personally
Why did you?
is
It's not
wrong.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. May the witness be permitted to answer the question?
It's not personal.
The gentleman will suspend. The witness is going to have an opportunity to say whatever he wants at the end of Mr. Jordan's 5 minutes. Until the
it is
end
not
of those
personal.
5 minutes, they're his time.
I appreciate your service. It's not personal. We just want the information. Why did you tell Peter Strzok not to answer our questions yesterday? When I asked...
That is the truth. Strzok was instructed not to answer questions behind closed doors in the session on Wednesday. And I'm sure you already heard about that, Dan.
You know, here's the thing, and you really have to stop and think about, you know, if what you're seeing playing out here, especially with this back and forth, is that, you know, members of Congress have had enough. They're tired of the stonewalling.
Yes.
And what you're seeing play out in these hearings is our people, let's just cut to the chase here. These are folks that openly had a lot of contempt to the fact that Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. Hillary Clinton was not. You had members of the FBI that openly protected Hillary Clinton.
Correct.
You had, and now what you're seeing playing out with all of this, there's no other way to put it. It is stonewalling, okay? They're trying to keep this undercover as much as they can in hopes that they're going to be able to dig up the slightest little thing on Donald Trump. But every time that they dig the hole a little deeper, what they're not realizing is that they are
Chair recognizes the gentleman from South.
They're digging the hole deeper for themselves, not for Donald Trump.
Yes.
They're digging the hole deeper for the legacy of Barack Obama to throw in here. What you're seeing right here, this is a pure. These folks these are folks that are, you know, you've heard people say, you know, Donald Trump needs to purge the Trump administration, all of the various agencies of folks that are loyal to Barack Obama. And this is a prime reason why, is because there are people that were, this isn't a conspiracy, people have openly admitted to this,
yes,
that, hey, you know what? We're here to obstruct. We're here to try to obstruct the Trump agenda, the Trump administration. We're here to try to obstruct the Republicans in Congress. We're trying to obstruct and trying to delay as much stuff as we possibly can until maybe we can retake the Senate, retake the House, maybe, you know, in 2020 elect another Democrat president, what have you. These are people that were left behind to try to obstruct and protect the legacy of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And when you see this stuff and these investigations, what have the investigations led to? No obstruction, no collusion, but they have led to some various other crimes that were committed here and there. And that's a great thing. But
those are crimes of process.
Time after time, they continue to, and listen, you know, J. Edgar Hoover is just rolling over in his grave right now. What's going on?
He's laughing his ass off.
He is, and he's just going, because what has happened now is that all of these loyalists and different things, they have completely, and I think that Sackhead Clint is probably with me on this. I've kind of heard him with some various comments on some past shows on Sackheads. But I think the FBI right now is at an all-time low. The credibility of the FBI has been completely destroyed by these folks. Now, there's a lot of good folks, a lot of good people that work for the federal agencies, whereas the CIA, the FBI, what have you, Homeland Security, but specifically focusing on the FBI right now, is that these folks have completely destroyed the reputation of the FBI, all in the name of you know what? We're pissed off because Donald Trump was elected president instead of Hillary Clinton, and now we've got to protect the legacy of Barack Obama. You want to bring down the Federal Bureau of Investigation to protect the legacy of one of the worst presidents in the history of the United States, of definitely one that definitely, well, it's kind of debatable on who was the worst of Obama's Secretary of States, but Hillary Clinton certainly ranks up there as one of the worst Secretary of States in the history of this country. Do you want to protect them and bring down the FBI in the process? They really do. They don't care, and that's what they will do. They will actually destroy this, all in the name of, because let's just be quite honest. They are pissed off that Donald Trump was elected president, and they don't like him. Plain and simple.
Let me point out something that I consider to be brain-glazingly obvious from the room right across the hallway here of Captain Obvious, and he happens to be sitting in the chair right over there. He's waving at me, and that's this: the Clinton administration, the Democrats, and what I call the LDAM, the leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots, were all convinced that Hillary Rodham Clinton was going to waltz into the presidency. And I truly do believe that they were 99% convinced that that was going to occur. Yet even with that conviction, they felt it absolutely incumbent upon themselves to cheat in unimaginably despicable fashions to ensure that she got there. And it only worsened on November 9th. Now, having said that, and while you were speaking, I went and found the cut with regard to Trey Gowdy. So we're going to continue to hear Rod Rosenstein talk to Jim Jordan. And this is good. This is excellent in and of itself. But have I got the cut for cuts coming up after this?
When I asked Peter Strzok if he'd ever communicated with Glenn Simpson, he gave us the answer he gave us dozens of times. On advice of FBI counsel, I can't answer that question. Why couldn't he answer that question?
Mr. Jordan, I appreciate your sincere concerns, but I didn't give Peter Strzok any instructions. If there was some problem with the instructions he had, I'll be happy to look into it.
Not what his FBI lawyer said.
Mr. Jordan, when you find some problem with a production or with questions, it doesn't mean that I'm personally trying to conceal something from you. It means we're running an organization that's trying to follow the rules, and we're going to respond.
You know what was interesting? When I asked him if he'd ever talked to Bruce.
Well, stop there for just a second. Where would you ever find an organization, Dan, anyone else listening, people listening in podcast, people listening live, people watching on Facebook, and also on High Plains Media? What organization except the DOJ would you get away with having a demand placed upon you for a series of documents, and in 1 year you haven't found them? Anywhere else except in the DOJ or the FBI or the U.S. government would that ever be even remotely acceptable?
Sorry, said he had. Said he had 3 times in 2016 and 2017. Then I asked him, have you ever talked to Nellie Orr? And he said, no, I haven't. I said, well, why can you answer that question? Because Nellie Orr worked for Glenn Simpson, worked for Fusion. He could answer that question, but he couldn't answer because FBI counsel told him he couldn't. He couldn't answer the question whether he'd ever communicated with Glenn Simpson, a journalist. Why couldn't he answer that question?
Mr. Jordan, I appreciate your saying it isn't personal. Sometimes it feels that way. How do I know, sir? I mean, you interviewed Mr. Strzok. I didn't, so I can't
Works for you. Doesn't work for us.
There are 115,000 people who work for me, sir.
Mr. Rosenstein, did you threaten staffers on the House Intelligence Committee?
Listen to this, because the answer is yes.
Media reports indicate you did.
Media reports are mistaken.
Sometimes. But this is what they
Listen to this.
said. Having the nation's #1 law enforcement officer threaten to subpoena your calls and emails is downright chilling. Did you threaten to subpoena their calls and emails?
No, sir, and there's no way to subpoena phone calls.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I'm reading what the press said.
I would suggest that you not rely on what the press says, sir.
Well, I didn't ask if there's no way to do it. I asked if you said it.
If I said what?
What I just read you.
No, I did not.
Well, now, who are we supposed to believe? Staff members who we've worked with, who've never misled us, or you guys, who we've caught hiding information from us, who tell a witness not to answer our questions?
It's getting real now.
Who are we supposed to believe?
Thank you for making clear it's not personal, Mr. Jordan.
Well, I'm saying the Department of Justice.
Me because I'm telling the truth and I'm under oath. And if you want to put somebody else under oath and they have something different,
I know these staff members.
Respond.
Here's my last question. What's so important that you know that you don't want us to know, that you won't give us the documents we're asking for?
This smug motherfucker is smiling at Jim Jordan.
The House of Representatives is about ready to go on record saying you should give us. What's so darn important that you will threaten members, at least according to media reports and according to the staff members, threaten members?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
What is so important, Mr. Rosenstein?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
This is not an appropriate time for a parliamentary inquiry.
And point of order. The gentleman keeps representing that the House of Representatives. Yes, it will be. The Republicans who continue
that is not an appropriate point of order.
Well, he needs to be corrected in his statement.
The time of the gentleman be restored in
That's Sheila Jackson Lee interrupting, by the way.
The gentlewoman will suspend. The time of the gentleman from Ohio will be restored for another additional 15 seconds, and then the Deputy Attorney General will be allowed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Rosenstein, Mr. Ray, I do appreciate your work. But
by the way, that was Bob Goodlatte interjecting.
I'd also appreciate if the House of Representatives could get the information. We have repeatedly, Mr. Gowdy talked about how long this investigation is going on, how long there's been a special counsel. We started asking for information in July of last year.
July of last year. It's been a year. Again, I say, how long does it take to produce documents?
And some of that is still has not been given to the Congress. Still not has been given to this committee, the committee charged with defending the Judiciary Committee. So I appreciate what you do. I just want the information, and we're so frustrated that there is now a resolution on the floor of the House in just a few minutes that will be voted on.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Mr. Rosenstein will be allowed to respond.
I don't have any control over what resolutions you vote on, sir, and you feel free to do that. But
the gentleman will suspend it. The time now is the Attorney General's.
If you're interested in the truth, Mr. Jordan, the truth is we have a team of folks. They're Trump appointees and career folks, and they're doing their best to produce these documents. Director Ray explained to you the process. He's got hundreds of people.
And they operate under the orders of their supervisors. And who are their supervisors? And who's running the DOJ? It's Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions is an empty suit. Rod Rosenstein is running the DOJ.
Working around the clock, trying to satisfy these requests. So whether you vote or not is not going to affect it. You're going to get everything that's relevant that we can find and produce to you. I support this report, sir. I'm not trying to hide anything from you.
That is a bald and naked, abject lie. But wait, if you enjoyed that, oh, Dan Butcher, are you going to enjoy this? By the way, Dan, did you happen to hear the tete-a-tete earlier today between Trey Gowdy and Rod Rosenstein?
I heard bits and pieces of it.
Oh, wait. This is 6 minutes of buttery political goodness.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Gowdy, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Russia investigation has been going on for almost 2 years now. Special counsel's investigation has been going on for over a year now. For most Americans, it's important to know what Russia did to our country in 2016 and with whom, if anyone, they did it. When a foreign state interferes with our democratic electoral process, it should be a chance of a lifetime for a law enforcement agent to investigate that, except apparently the one that was actually picked to investigate it. That was Peter Strzok. FBI agent Peter Strzok was picked to lead the FBI's investigation into what Russia did in July of 2016. It was a counterintelligence investigation begun in late July 2016, and he was leading it. And at about the exact same time he was picked to lead it, this dispassionate and fair FBI agent was calling Trump a disaster, destabilizing for the country. I'll leave out all the adjectives he used to describe that. I'll just go with the...
By the way, I want to point out that during this cut and the last one, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, is sitting directly adjacent Rod Rosenstein, and he's saying nothing.
Disaster and destabilizing. Same time, his FBI lawyer girlfriend, Lisa Page, was telling him he was meant to protect the country. This neutral, dispassionate FBI agent said, I can protect the country at many levels. Same time, Peter Strzok, who was picked to objectively, fairly, neutrally look into the Russia investigation, was talking about an insurance policy with Andy McCabe and Lisa Page in the event Donald Trump became the president. All of this was happening at the same time Peter Strzok said he could smell the Trump support in Southern Virginia. All this was at the same time that this FBI agent said a Trump presidency would be effing terrifying and that it will never happen. No, we'll stop it. So while investigating Russia and their attempt to subvert...
By the way, the other thing I want to point out that no one else has up to this is that all of these messages and all of this information back and forth were conducted on official devices owned and under regulations of the FBI. These weren't their personal devices. These were the communication instruments that you and I pay for. I should like to point that out. Dan, did you have anything else?
Yeah, let me do this. You keep hearing the term collusion, right? Coming from the Democrats, as they try to, find some type of connection between Trump and Vladimir Putin or the KGB, what have you, right? Very important in the words that you just heard is because if there's any collusion, it alludes to my commentary a few minutes ago when I was talking about how all of these folks have one goal in mind.
Yes.
They are colluding together to once again work against the they have openly admitted we colluded together to try to prevent a Trump presidency. We did this, we did that. Now we're working together to try to disrupt the Trump presidency, to try to do this, to try to do that. If there's any collusion, there you see it. There is evidence of that. And Trey Gowdy is getting right to the heart of that with what he's talking about, pointing out, saying, hey, all of these folks are working together to try to, and let's face it, trying to openly disrupt the duly elected government of the United States of America. People have to remember that, Donald Trump won 30 states. He won over 300 electoral votes. This wasn't a close election. This wasn't a close victory with Hillary Clinton. He won a decisive victory. Was it a landslide? No, but it was a decisive victory. And so once again, there were measures in place from day one, from the second that Barack Obama left the White House and Donald Trump walked in, everything was put in motion to try to disrupt and discredit the Trump presidency.
That's why I say, and I will continue to say until I am proven wrong, that this was a soft coup against America. This was a soft coup against you and me.
Yes.
This was a soft coup against a presidential nominee. This was a soft coup against a president-elect. And it is a continuing soft coup against a sitting president of the United States. Under any other set of circumstances, with any other president, the country would have been turned upside down, burning, riots, etc., because of the intense and incredible abrogations against what occurred in the government. And we're discovering day by day, week by week, month by month, like I quantify it as the tip of the iceberg, is that, can you imagine, none of this would have been revealed and would have been concealed from now until forever had Hillary Rodham Clinton been installed as president of the United States. Trey, go ahead, dude.
Our democracy may have been important to the rest of the country. It wasn't all that important to about a half dozen FBI agents and lawyers who were assigned to the case. For them, it was an investigation to stop Donald Trump, which then brings us to May of 2017 and the appointment of special counsel, where we find Peter Strzok again, this same supposed to be dispassionate, neutral, fair FBI agent. You would think he'd be really excited about investigating what a foreign power tried to do to this country, but you would be wrong again for Peter Strzok at precisely the same time that Bob Mueller was appointed, precisely the same time. Peter Strzok was talking about his unfinished business and how he needed to fix and finish it. So
Bob Mueller, of course, appointed by, wait for it, Rod Rosenstein.
Donald Trump did not become president. He was talking about impeachment within 3 days of special counsel Mueller being appointed. 3 days. That's even quicker than MSNBC and the Democrats were talking about impeaching. Within 3 days, the lead FBI agent is talking about impeaching.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
That was quicker than Maxine Waters.
Jesus. You continuously cannot write this stuff.
The president. So this is where we are. We're 2 years into this investigation. We're a year and a half into the presidency. We're over a year into special counsel. You have a counterintelligence investigation that's become public. You have a criminal investigation that's become political. You have more bias than I have ever seen manifest in a law enforcement officer in the 20 years I used to do it for a living. And 4 other DOJ employees who had manifest animus towards the person they were supposed to be neutrally and detachedly investigating. Democrats are using this investigation as a presumption of guilt, which I find astonishing. And in the long run, for the health of this republic, I would encourage them to go back to the presumption of innocence that we used to hold sacred. There's a presumption of guilt. There's a desire by Democrat senators to fundraise off of your investigation. More than 60 Democrats have already voted to proceed with impeachment before Bob Mueller has found a single solitary damn thing. More than 60 have voted to move forward with impeachment, and he hasn't presented his first finding.
That in and of itself says all you need to know about the LDAM, about the leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots.
So I'm going to say this to you, Mr. Ray, Mr. Rosenstein. I realize that neither one of you were there when this happened, but you're both there now. Russia attacked this country. They should be the target, but Russia isn't being hurt by this investigation right now. We are. This country is being hurt by it. We are being divided. We've seen the bias.
Listen to this. This is perfect.
We've seen the bias. We need to see the evidence. If you have evidence of wrongdoing by any member of the Trump campaign, present it to the damn grand jury. If you have evidence that this president acted inappropriately, present it to the American people. There's an old saying that justice delayed is justice denied. I think right now all of us are being denied. Whatever you got, finish it the hell up, because this country is being torn apart. I would yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Either the witnesses care to respond to the...
Well, I would simply respond, Ms. Gowdy. I certainly share your views.
Now listen to the weasel words, the pablum speak that comes out of these mouths.
About those text messages.
By the way, just to let everybody know, I didn't do the top of the hour break, and I'm not doing the bottom of the hour break. We're rolling right through.
And nobody is more offended than I about what's reflected in those messages.
No one is more offended than him. He certainly acts like no one is more offended than him, doesn't he? And Ray is sitting there like an empty suit doing nothing. He's the director of the FBI. There is no one higher in the FBI administration than the director, saying nothing, being nothing, doing nothing. He's an empty suit.
With regard to the investigation, I've heard suggestions that we should just close the investigation. I think the best thing we can do is finish it appropriately and reach a conclusion. And I certainly agree with you, sir, that people should not jump to conclusions without seeing the evidence. I've been the victim of fake news attacks myself, so I'm sympathetic. I agree with you,
not one,
sir, that there's been no allegation made by the Department of Justice or the special counsel other than what's reflected in those documents that are filed publicly, the charged folks. And nobody should draw any conclusions beyond those charges.
Dan, this is my country. This is my country. These are people representing me. These aren't elected people. These are people that got this like, ding, they were installed. These people were not elected, and they're doing this to my country, and I object.
Let me bring this up, BZ, because you heard the challenge from Trey Gowdy: produce the evidence. if you've got anything, now's the time. Basically, if you're playing poker, Trey Gowdy called today. He said, you know what? It's time to put up or shut up, right? Well, here's what they're afraid of, and I'm going to give you a prime example. They have jack squat on Donald Trump. They have nothing. But what has their investigations produced? A whole lot of stuff involving the Clinton campaign and the collusion between the Clinton campaign and the DNC during the election, and lots of different things with Hillary Clinton and some other folks. But primarily, let me give you an example of the type of stuff that's starting to this is all starting to unravel for these folks.
Yep.
They've been trying to cover it up, and they've been trying to sweep it under the carpet for so long. It's starting to unravel. So let me give you a great example that happened just today. Okay,
all right.
And this was a decision against the DOJ, and this was a decision that was announced by U.S. District Court Judge Reggie B. Walton, who instructed the Justice Department to immediately begin producing records about DOJ communications with Nellie Orr, the wife of senior DOJ official Bruce Orr. Now, Nellie Orr worked for the Clinton campaign vendor Fusion GPS on the anti-Trump Dozier campaign document. Now here is this. Now you're going to laugh when you hear this. Judge Walton rejected and if you want to know why Trump is so frustrated with Jeff Sessions and different things, this is a prime example. Judge Walton rejected a Justice Department request to begin producing the documents 6 months from now and ordered the DOJ to begin producing documents immediately on a rolling basis over the next 2 months. Judge Walton also rejected the DOJ's efforts to restrict their search to only 2016. Now, this is what Judge Walton had to say in his criticism of the Justice Department. He said, I think if it's been almost since December when the initial request was made, more should have been done by now. And it seems to me if you have someone who's going to come into an office and they say they're going to be a disruptor, that they should appreciate there's going to be a lot of FOIA request and therefore should gear up to deal with those requests. So I'm not real sympathetic to the position that you have limited staff and therefore you can't comply with these requests. So I think you're going to have to get some more people. I mean, freedom of information is considered to be very important. I keep getting from the government, from various agencies, we can't do this. We can't do this because we don't have the resources. I'm not real sympathetic to that. Freedom of information request is important. Open government is important, and the government has to comply with freedom of information request in order to make it an open government. Now, once again, just to give you a little background, in December 2017, Bruce Orr was removed from his position as U.S. Associate Deputy Attorney General.
Correct.
After it was revealed that he conducted undisclosed meetings with anti-Trump Dozier author Christopher Steele and Glenn Simpson, the principal of Fusion GPS.
Right.
A House Intelligence Committee memo released by Chairman Devin Nunes in February 2nd noted that Orr's wife Nellie was, quote, employed by Fusion GPS to assist in the cultivation of opposition research on Trump, and that Bruce Orr passed the results of that research on, which is paid for by, guess who? The Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign to, guess who? The FBI. So this little story is very significant in everything that we're talking about and everything that took place on Capitol Hill today. What is the common denominator, the common thread? Once again, the collusion to cover up for Hillary Clinton, the collusion to try to disrupt the Trump presidency, to try to pin stuff on Donald Trump in order to cover up any illegal activities by the DNC, by Hillary Clinton's campaign, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I would argue in the long run to cover up a lot of stuff that may have been done by, quote unquote, the most transparent administration in history, known as the Barack Hussein Obama administration.
Completely agreed. The other thing is that we realize that Obama used emails under a different name, a pseudonym, that those emails were on her server, that was never taken. It leads, if you were able to connect all the dots, you would find that it leads directly up to Barack Hussein Obama. There is no other conclusion that you can draw unless you completely believe that Barack Hussein Obama is one of the most ignorant and stupid presidents in the history of history. And that's just not true. Now, with that in mind, we got about a half hour left, and I want to try to see if I can squeeze this in here. I want to talk about the violence on the left. The left's solution to, say, immigration problems is violence. First, they indicated you need to kill all the ICE agents, and then there was more. First, Occupy Wall Street says you got to kill ICE agents. That was when the Twitter account of Occupy Wall Street, they published a cartoon a couple of weeks ago promoting the murder of immigration and customs enforcement agents, and it is a graphic. And let's see. Okay, here's what it reads. I actually wrote this down. Here's what the graphic reads. It says, if an ICE agent tries to take your child at the border, don't panic. Pull your child away as quickly as possible by force. Gently tell your child to close his or her eyes and ears so they won't witness what you are about to do. Grab the ICE agent from behind and push your knife into his chest with an upward thrust, breaking through his sternum. Reach into his chest and pull out his still beating heart. Hold his bloody heart out for all the other agents to see and tell them that the same fate awaits them if they fuck with your child again. So the leftist stupidity, it didn't stop there. Now, remember, when everything else fails or ails, leftists resort to either the advocacy for violence or actual violence itself.
Right.
And so do you remember when Peter Fonda weighed in with this? We should rip Baron Trump from his mother's arms and put him in a cage with pedophiles and see if mother will stand up against this giant. This giant fuckhead. She's married to 90 million people in the streets of the same weekend in the country. So Peter Fonda basically tweeted that he wants to rip Baron Trump from his mother and put him in a cage with pedophiles. Then, okay, here's another one. Melania Trump took that threat very seriously. Here's a little tweet from the Daily Caller. The office of FLOTUS has notified the Secret Service after actor Peter Fonda threatened to kidnap Melania and Donald Trump's son, Barron. And Peter Fonda called for Barron to be ripped from Melania's arms and put in a cage with pedophiles. But wait, there's more. More by Peter Fonda. This is a story from downtrend.com. Liberal celeb wants DHS secretary stripped naked and whipped. You really didn't read about this very much. The completely manufactured hellstorm over the separation of illegal alien kids from their parents never elicited so much as a peep from the left when it was Barack Obama who was wrapping them in foil and stuffing them into cages. But the Democrats and the media, the LDAM, they're working hand in hand to whip up a wave of hysteria that they hope is just going to sweep them into control of Congress in November. And then there was this little goodie.
A Treasure Coast man is behind bars accused of threatening to kill Congressman Brian Mast's children in response to the current immigration policy.
Mast has 3 young children. News Channel 5's Megan McRoberts is live outside his Stewart office with what court records say the man told investigators. Megan.
Well, Jay, Lawrence Key is his name. He's now facing federal charges. He's accused of calling Mast's D.C. office and speaking to an intern there and allegedly telling that intern that he would kill Mast's children in response to children being removed from their families at the border.
What do you think would happen, Dan, had the reverse been true? Had some conservative called up, pick any office and said that they're going to kill children for doing, fill in the blank. How long would that have been trumpeted all throughout the portals of the LDAM?
Well, first of all, it would have been the lead story on CNN.
Sure it would.
And then
Certainly.
probably about 50 other follow-up stories, all centered around that, and that's the truth. There is a double standard to this because, once again, if it had been, a conservative that had made those threats, of course, then all of a sudden that goes hand in hand with calling for the banning of weapons and other things, the banning of Christianity and Bibles, stuff that goes with that. But for some reason, it's perfectly okay for other groups and other organizations to make threats like this because they're doing it they're doing it in the name of women and children. Remember, Democrats have made a career out of identity politics. They are the masters of identity politics. And quite honestly, that has allowed them to get away with a lot of this stuff. Even when we call them out on it, they seem to get a free pass because they've made themselves the party of identity politics. And those threats and stuff, you know what? Hey, you know what? It's just like in the '60s, with the Weather Underground. Hey, maybe we threw a few bombs out there and killed a few cops, but hey, you know what? It's going to get us. It's going to get us to be college professors later in our lives, so we can teach other people to do that, all in the name of identity politics, all in the name of the good of the people. If you got to hurt a few, it's good to hurt a few for the good of the all, for the good of the state, for the good of the people, what have you. You know what? Let's kill. Let's kill somebody else's children to save these children. It's perfectly okay, and they get a pass with it. And that double standard, it's not right. And but. Quite honestly, they've become a masters of being able to use that as an effective means with their message and get away with it, BZ. And if you or I had done that, the FBI
would be in leg shackles.
Secret Service, we're getting led away to be waterboarded somewhere. Quite honestly.
You remember about a week and a half ago, Homeland Security Director Kirstjen Nielsen,
yes.
She goes out to a Mexican restaurant, and then a bunch of protesters go in and basically scream her out of the restaurant. Did you find that the American media maggots, the LDAM, went out to tell you that one of the primary persons responsible for doing that is a Department of Justice employee? Of course, that wasn't highlighted. So, if, by the way, her name is Allison, if I'm not mistaken, Allison Raybar. What would happen if I brought a crowd into a restaurant that you were attending? And she's, by the way, I forgot to tell you the best part. She's a D.C. Metro Democratic Socialist, and she boasts about it all across her social media. So let's see, Socialist DOJ employee Allison, would it be okay if I brought a crowd into a restaurant you were attending and turn your dinner into a screaming nightmare, forcing you to leave? Because actually, Socialist DOJ employee Allison, turnabout is fair play. And so she told the Washington Examiner, if you see these people in public, you should remind them that they shouldn't have peace. We aren't the only ones who can do this. Anyone who sees Kirstjen Nielsen at dinner, anyone who sees anyone who works at DHS and ICE at dinner can confront them like this, and that's what we hope this will inspire people to do. And like I said, she's a member of the the Metro D.C. Democratic Socialists of America. Then we go back to Peter Fonda. Peter Fonda came out with another tweet. This is the third of three. Said, Kirstjen Nielsen is a lying gash that should be put in a cage and poked at by passerby. The gash should be pilloried in Lafayette Square, naked and whipped by passersby while being filmed for posterity. He deleted those tweets. Then there was this. There's a guy, a Stewart man, was arrested last Tuesday after a federal complaint stated that he threatened Brian Most's children, and that's the cut that we heard about. Then there was this.
I was talking earlier about how both sides are so distant from each other right now, and I think the left, frankly, has a little bit more heat on them right now, given the kind of pressure they're trying to put on anyone who thinks differently than them. I think it really questions sort of who we are right now, our identity as a country. This has always been a free place where you're welcome to think and say as you please. This is freedom of speech and freedom of thought. And to me, we should welcome that diversity of thought. We should welcome a diversity in thinking when it comes to policy. But instead, one side wants to shut down the other right now. For more, I want to bring in former Governor Mike Huckabee, who, of course, is the father of Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee.
And one aspect of that, and the reason I'm playing this audio cut, is because he's going to make a point that no one on the LDAM side, leftists, Democrats, or American media maggots, pointed out in their articles about the Red Hen and Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Sanders, who was so unceremoniously thrown out of that Little Red Head restaurant over the weekend. And, you know, Governor, first of all, your thoughts just as a dad.
Well, it's an incredible thing when people, in the name of their liberty, want to deny someone else theirs. And if you're in the hospitality business, your number one goal is to be hospitable. The owner of that restaurant was not hospitable. In fact, a little-known part of this story is that after Sarah and her
listen to this,
her husband left and the family relocated to a restaurant across the street, the owner of the Red Hen then organized an effort to go and scream at them from the sidewalk at the other restaurant. Finally, one of Sarah's in-laws, who happens to be very liberal, it's her brother-in-law, went out in the street and said, look, Sarah's already left. She didn't stay for obvious reasons. She's had all she needs tonight. The rest of us are trying to have dinner. I'm a liberal. I'm not a Trump supporter, but you guys aren't helping our cause. So it wasn't just what happened in the Little Red Hen restaurant. It's what happened ongoing by the owner of that restaurant. Here's what I don't understand, Trish. Look, it's real simple. If I owned a restaurant, I'd want to take all the money I could from every conservative because I'd want to take that money and spend it on the things that would make them mad. But I'd treat them respectfully. I'd treat them nicely because that's what you do. You don't show your hate, your bigotry, your animosity toward people who are your guest. You open your door. You say we're open for business, then you treat people respectfully. It's pretty simple, really.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and yet that still continues. Let's see. So here's the owner of that restaurant, by the way, had to withdraw from a local Chamber of Commerce membership in that area, and then. I'm sorry. Do you have a comment, Dan?
Well, yeah. I was going to bring up probably the biggest voice that you've seen calling for. Let's talk about Maxine Waters again.
Okay, hold on, because I've got that cut. I have got that cut.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
I'm coming to that. But now there was a protest where the Florida Attorney General was threatened herself.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
A crowd of hecklers following Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi out of a Tampa theater. All new at 6, ABC Action News reporter Nicole Grigg with Bondi's response and the call to tone down the politics.
And this almost went physical.
Twitter video shows people heckling Pam Bondi as she left a documentary on Mr. Rogers at the Tampa Theater Friday night.
Shame on you!
You can't even go see a documentary on Mr. fucking Rogers.
Shame on you!
Bondi speaking out Monday on Fox and Friends.
So then 3 huge guys came up and started probably an inch from my face, screaming at me every word in the book.
Shame on you!
The woman shouting is with a group called Florida Public Services Union. They have an office in St. Pete.
We talked to the protesters off camera. They tell me that they didn't even know Bondi was here at the show, that they had a staffer inside who tried to approach Bondi as she was walking out.
Bondi is now the third high-profile Republican woman to be publicly confronted in a week.
I have friends from all sides of the spectrum, and if I can't argue with them and discuss topics of national and local policy and not have a beer afterwards, then I'm taking it too personal.
And I'm not going to be bullied.
In Tampa, Nicole Grigg, ABC Action News.
That was that. But as you mentioned, there's more. I've got more audio cuts. Let me go down here. Okay, you were talking about the lovely Maxine Waters. Now, here's the first cut. Here is Maxine outside in public making this kind of an advocacy.
We want it done now. We're going to insist on it. If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep. And guess what? We're going to win this battle because while you try and quote the Bible, Jeff Sessions and others, you really don't know the Bible. God is on our side. On the side of the children. On the side of what's right. On the side of what's honorable. On the side of understanding that if we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. And so, let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
We've seen happen over these last few days. Are you going to add your name to those ranks? Do you think she should step aside?
Oh, absolutely. She should step aside. You know, I have no sympathy for these people that are in this administration who, know it's wrong what they're doing on so many fronts, but they tend to not want to confront this president or even leave, but they know what they're doing is wrong. And I want to tell you, for these members of his cabinet who...
Do you know, Dan, any person on the Democrat side that doesn't want to confront any member of the Trump administration? I don't. I absolutely don't.
Well, and I don't know if you've played this on Sackheads or on your show, but here you have Maxine Waters, who is stirring up the fire and adding coal and fuel to it. She doesn't even live, folks. You're talking about somebody that doesn't even live in the district that she represents. So, think about that for a second and how honorable that is. But you're also talking about on Capitol Hill recently, you had President Trump, who was going to a meeting to meet with congressional leaders on different things. And here you have members of Congress and their staff members yelling at the president and being disrespectful. You had a congressional intern who yelled "fuck you" at President Trump inside the U.S. Capitol. And so this is the type of leadership and example that's being set. This is what we're calling civil debate. This is what we're calling civil discussion. This is what we're calling engaging. This is called obstruction. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, what have you. This is obstruction of trying to get down. We're talking about a very serious issue dealing with immigration and immigration reform. This does absolutely nothing
to advance their argument.
It does absolutely nothing to address it. It does nothing to address their argument, to advance their ideas. All it does is make the situation worse. And why do they enhance that? Because in reality, they don't want nothing done because it hurts their voting base.
Yes.
And then if something's actually done, guess what? They lose in the battle of identity politics.
Speaking of losing, you know that you're beginning to lose the argument when you have someone on CNN go at you like this.
Welcome to Unfiltered. Here's tonight's headline. Stay classy, America.
The Red Hen restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, describes itself as farm-to-table fine dining.
This is S.E. Cup, by the way, on CNN.
The first of its kind in the Shenandoah Valley. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, along with a small group, probably showed up on Friday expecting a nice end-of-the-week night out featuring locally raised pan-seared pork chops or braised leg of lamb. Instead, Sanders was pulled aside and asked by the owner to leave. The following day, Sanders tweeted about the incident from her official Twitter account, calling out the restaurant by name. Last night, I was told by the owner of Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia, to leave because...
By the way, here's one thing that no one responds to or says, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders made that tweet on her official account after she was asked a question about it on her official account. She was replying to someone who had already asked the question.
Because I work for POTUS and I politely left. Her actions say far more about her than about me. I always do my best to treat people, including those who I disagree with, respectfully, and will continue to do so. Shortly thereafter, the restaurant's Yelp page became a political battleground and was inundated with both negative and positive reviews that had nothing to do with the quality of food and service. Not to worry, eventually cooler heads prevailed when Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters suggested maybe we calm down a bit and attempt to reestablish a civil tone. Just kidding. She told people to form mobs to harass Trump cabinet officials.
When you have CNN using sarcasm in that fashion, you know that you're losing the argument. And then there was a story from the Washington Examiner. Trump aides urged to get a gun, facing a new wave of potentially dangerous threats called for by a top Democrat lawmaker. Legal and gun experts are calling on top Trump aides to get their concealed carry permit and back it up with a pistol. There are simply not enough police in D.C. or Virginia or Maryland to protect all Trump officials at their homes and when they go out to restaurants. And I'm telling you, okay, here's another story. I found this one, too. Here's another one from GatewayPundit.com. Mitch McConnell was ambushed by people, and his wife screams at them, "Leave him alone." I think I have an audio cut from that. By the way, folks, I don't know if you know this or not, but Mitch McConnell is an old dude. And by the way, he was stricken with childhood polio. So when you threaten Mitch McConnell, he's in absolutely no age or condition to do anything remotely close to fighting back. And by the way, do you know who all the people are that are surrounding his wife and surrounding him? Young males of fighting age. I don't see any women.
He's separating families. He's separating forces. No. How does he sleep at night? How does he sleep at night? It is not a legal assignment. How does he sleep at night? It is not a legal assignment.
Let me tell you, Dan, we got about 4 more minutes to go, and this is my summary of everything that's happened recently. Have you noticed what the thread is, by the way, with all of these incidents? The thread is this, at least to date, that I'm aware of. They are all against women or older, infirm men. Like I said, Senator McConnell was damaged by polio as a child. So here's what the state of the art is right now. Leftists are picking on easy, infirm people who can't fight back, who they know won't pop them in the face. But I also submit this. One person out there, I don't know who they are. We won't know until it happens. One person out there is one bad day away from an answer to these leftist confrontation. One bad piece of news away from responding very poorly to these leftist confrontations, like being informed of a divorce or having been served papers for a lawsuit or notified, I don't know, that a scan came back for cancer, knowing that a loved one was recently seriously injured or killed in a vehicle accident. 'Cause we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with humanity. There are going to be human responses. Some of those responses are eventually going to answer with violence and will involve violence because, after all, the pressure is increasing rapidly. So, sort of in summary, there's a crash coming, dude. There's a crash coming, and I can smell it. There's a societal upheaval coming.
Let me tell you what all this is going to lead to, and I'm going to remind everybody of what happened on June 14th, 2017, just a little over a year ago.
Right, Steve.
And that's when you had House Majority Whip Steve Scalise.
Yep.
Scalise of Louisiana. He was shot while practicing for the annual congressional baseball game.
Yep.
And of course, after all that happened, a 10-minute shootout ensued between the shooter, who was a left-wing activist.
Yes.
And so what's going to end up happening is the likes of Maxine Waters, congressional staffers, Democrats, they're going to fuel the flames until we see another attack like this. But stop and think. Look at how close they got to. You're talking about Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Majority Leader.
Yes.
Look at how close they got to him.
Yep.
There was nothing there to stop somebody from injuring him, from killing him, quite honestly. There was nothing there between him and these folks. And I think it's just a matter of time, if they keep fanning the flames and adding fuel to the fire, that you're going to see another incident like we saw last year with Steve Scalise. Something is going to happen. Something's going to give. Somebody's going to snap, and we're going to see somebody get hurt when it's all said and done.
Nothing good is going to come out of this. Dan, thank you for your time. Tell people again where you can be read and found.
Hey, buddy, it's always a pleasure. You know what? You just go to highplacepundit.com, and that'll get you to everything. That'll get you to our main news and information website, High Plains Talk Radio, and High Plains Pundit TV, my friend.
Folks, I'm sorry that we didn't have Sharika Soal. I may try to see if I can get her back. Maybe she was doing something important tonight or somehow was delayed. That's occurred to me before. Thanks to you, Dan, for being here tonight, and thanks to everybody in chat.
Monsieur has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at bzep, on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My original music, my intro music, is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional consideration by Lockheed Martin Skunkworks and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines, Thrust You Can Trust. And my tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Bank on that, baby. And thank you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, so kindly for listening live. Thanks for being involved in the chat room. Thanks for listening in podcast. Have a great weekend. God bless. Take care. You be safe. See you next Tuesday.
Quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.